I hope everyone is well and safe. Today I'm really excited because I'm going to be sharing with you 5 must-know needle felting tips and tricks to make your needle felting much more enjoyable and creative. So if this sounds fun, please like, comment and subscribe to my channel and stay tuned. I made 2 of these videos before and they will be carded up here and linked in the description box below. First tip I'm going to be sharing with you is actually a technique, and it's to make this kind of curly texture, and it's really useful for dogs, especially this kind of a poodle. So it's really nice, and obviously it's really nice as a texture. If you made enough of this, it could be a lovely wall hanging, but again, it works really well for kind of dogs and different creatures. So to do this, you're going to want to take your wool. I'm using grey wool, but of course you could do any colour you want. And you're going to want your needle, and I already started this, but I'm going to finish this little square off. You're going to want to take a nice long piece, kind of pull it out, and you can make it really long and thin, or you can make it kind of fat. I'm going to felt it, I'm going to put it, and I'm going to felt just a little bit down, just so it kind of attaches to my base felt. And you don't have to do this too much, and then we're going to start twisting. So just twist in all one direction, try and incorporate all of the wool. And you're going to want to kind of let it twist onto itself, and you can continue felting. And again, you can get many different textures and colours with this, depending on the fibre. Technique is actually a blending technique, and I used that to make this colour for this dog, as I didn't have any wool in that colour, and this kind of orangey brown for this red panda, and this dark brown for this little dog. And to do that, I personally use dog brushes, and you can get bigger versions that are especially for wool blending, but they cost a lot of money, and for me, I'm not making these big sculptures, so dog brushes work really well, and you can get them quite cheap from wherever. So what you do is you're going to want to get your different wools. I just took these random colours, and you're going to want to lay them together, and first you can start by kind of pulling them apart and putting them together. It kind of just helps break them up a little, and then work in small bits if possible. So this is a bit big for blending, I think, so I'm going to divide it into 2. I'm going to lay it down on one brush, and then I'm just going to start kind of combing it. I'm going to start combing this side first, and then kind of take more and more. And you're just going to kind of want to do this. And then you can take it off, put it upside down, and just kind of continue. There we go, and it also has the benefit that your wool will be combed in one direction. So now you can use that for your whatever project you want to do, and it is actually a storage one for your needles. And my tip is to store them in a sponge with the different sizes clearly marked, as there is a difference between these type of needles, even though, like, let's be honest, they're the exact same thing, but they're not, believe it or not. And I like to store them like this, so I can see that, obviously, which needles are which. And the needles I get, they're by Rare, and they just have coarse, medium, or thin. And that's really handy for me, but I know that a lot of brands do them by numbers, and by the way, the bigger the number, the thinner they are, and the smaller the number, the coarser they are. So use your thick or your coarse needles first, and you use that when you're starting off in the middle of the project, and then you work out to the smaller needle when you are doing really the details, as these felt faster and these felt a bit slower. Technique I actually used to make this dog, and it's one to get a really, really nice soft layers on animals. And I used merino for this, but roving also works as well. And I made this just as a test, just to see how soft and fluffy it can get, and I'm kind of in love with it. I feel like if I put 2 eyes there, it's just like the cutest thing in the world. But the way you do this is with layers. So you're going to want to start with your felted piece. I just did a 2D just so it'd be a bit easier, but obviously 3D works really well as well. You're going to want to take your wool, and then you're going to want to take a bit that is the width of your piece. It can again be 3D or 2D, and you're going to want to separate it out a bit just to make sure it is, and then you're going to want to just get an even layer. And I'm doing it quite thick, and I'm doing many layers just so it's really fluffy like this, but I only did I think 2 layers for this dog. So you're going to want to start at the very bottom of your piece, and then you're going to want to work up in layers, and you're just going to felt that again. Then I'm just going to repeat that process until I get my finished piece like this. And again, it depends on how many layers you want to do and how fluffy you want your piece to be. Technique is kind of similar to the last one with the layers for animals. This one is actually using yarn, and again it depends on the type of creature you're making or what texture you want. This is kind of a grey lion that kind of looks like a sheep. I don't know. It was just an experimentation for this video. And the way you do this is kind of the same as the last one. You start at the bottom and work your way up. And I also made this as an example with 3 different types of yarn, and I'm actually kind of in love with it. I really like how it works out. So for this, you're going to want to take many different lengths of yarn, and the way I do it is I wrap them around my finger multiple times, and then I cut it, and then I get my many different lengths of yarn. So they're all the same size, and they will be felting really easily, and it's just so much easier than cutting each one. So what you're going to want to do, I started obviously, but you're just going to make sure you get your little bit of yarn in as far as possible, just so it's really, really fluffy. And if you don't want to do that, you just kind of push it out a bit, and you're going to want to just felt it. And then you're just going to add to that, and you'll have this. And this is really a nice technique for kind of more coarse hair dogs and any other kind of creature like that. You can make a line like this, and it's a bit more crafty and maybe not as natural, but it's still a very, very nice technique. And again, it uses up your old yarn, and most yarn does work with needle felting, by the way. And you can even use it in the middle if you've like really kind of old ugly yarn you don't want to use. Just make sure it isn't too hard for your needle. And you can even use, I've used gold thread in the past to kind of add a little bit of nice detail to different animals and stuff, so I definitely recommend that. Technique is actually all about armatures, and armatures are little bits of wire that you, or in my case pipe cleaners, that you put into a needle felted sculpture to give it a bit of shape, number one, and so you can also move it. So as you can see with this dog, you can kind of move its paws and they stay in place. Lots of people use wire, but I personally use pipe cleaners because the little bit of fluff kind of holds to the wool and makes it, in my opinion, easier to felt, and the wire doesn't show through as much. Obviously, try get pipe cleaners in the colours you're going to be, as close to the colour you're going to be making your final creature in. So, to make an armature, what I do is I fold it in half, and then I'm going to measure the width of the body. And this is just, it's going to look really weird. It's basically the skeleton of the body, so it's going to be really, really skinny. And I'm just going to twist it here, and then I'm going to fold it there to get my legs. And I'm going to measure the width of the length of my legs, and I'm just going to twist them in. Make sure at the end you have no wire, if at all possible. That's why I'm doing all this folding. It just makes it safer, number one, and it's easier to kind of cover up. And I'm going to cut this one in half just so I can get the front legs. Make sure you use good scissors. So I'm just going to fold it in half and kind of twist it around here. And do the same, folding again and twisting. You have your armature. This is just, again, a really basic armature, but it kind of does help with just the structure and how the creature looks. And Thanks so much for watching. I hope you learned something today. Please tell me down below if you have any more needle felting tips or anything you do in your own special way. And please, again, check out the last videos. There's so many more tips there. Thanks so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. And see you later. Bye.